Welcome to Uniting the Cults. Muslim asks, quote, what determines your moral compass after leaving Islam? Logic determines my moral compass. Logic says that the existence of the death penalty for leaving Islam is one of the ways to know that Islam is man-made. Why? Because if Islam was reasonable, if it agreed with all the evidence we have, then people would believe it willingly. Just think of something like germ theory. The creator of germ theory did not need to threaten people with death in order to get people to believe in germ theory. Instead, we believe in germ theory because all the evidence we have agrees with it. Logic says that initiating force or coercion to discourage disobedience is wrong. Same thing. If your idea is valuable, people would willingly adopt it without any help in the form of force or coercion. Logic says fraud, theft, and rape are wrong. Logic says that making friends is better for you and them and everyone else than compared to making enemies. Logic determines my moral compass. One DDAT says, let's be honest, even for Muslims, it isn't their religion or their God / Allah that determines their moral compass. It's whatever suits their whims or that of their clerical class. After leaving Islam, you can be true to your context and not be reliant on an ideology out of the date by hundreds of centuries that people chop and change but are still hypocrites and don't admit what they're doing. Images are haram? Oops, they're not. The cleric needs a photo for his visa to the land of the kuffar and also has created a YouTube channel where he earns off of ads featuring naked women. Slavery is sunnah? Well, slavery isn't for this time. After the kuffar have forced us to stop keeping slaves, we feel it's okay to not follow the sunnah since it's not mandatory. Beat them? When it says beat them, it doesn't really mean beat them. Allah, the Almighty, Omniscient God, forgot to add with with the toothpick, he forgot. I will do this for him now that the Western kuffar think against women's human for their human rights, for their husbands to beat them. They said, this isn't just logic that determines your moral compass. It's what you see, feel, and what you rationalize. I specifically left Islam because it didn't fit my moral compass. My teacher, who I thought to be the gentle, kind man, taught me that I'm allowed to hit women if they don't listen to me. Of course, I've seen my father hit my mother, and I've always seen her be sad and cry. I was 13 or 14. But I could still look at her face, listen to her, see how she sounds, and tell that she is sad. Islam allows this sadness. So how is it that my moral compass goes above what Islam does and teaches you? It's because you as a human are a social animal that can interact and tell how others feel and rationalize that as something bad to do to someone else. It's honestly so terrible that there's actual people that form their morality around Islam instead of their own experience as a human and others' experiences as humans. This person has a flare that says Satanist in there. And I asked them about it, and they said, to clarify, they don't believe in Satan, but Satanism or whatever is the philosophy of making your own decisions and choices in life, not basing it off another moral compass or ideology. Funnily enough, Satan represents these qualities in the holy books. That's basically what I read about it. I vaguely remember reading that Christianity or whoever said that anyone who does their own thing, deviating from the collective, is following Satan. So by their conception, we ex-Muslims are all Satanists to the extent that we follow our own ideas. A lot of people are not following their own ideas, and they don't know it. They think it's their own ideas, but they've been fooled by other people, maybe dead people. Well done. This is the simplest yet concise answer without going into terms like subjective, objective morality, which Islamic apologists only use to play their mental gymnastics. Yeah, I try to stay away from this because people don't know what I'm saying when I talk about it. Very well said. Logic also supports gender equality, music and art in general, and LGBT rights, even the most basic rights like living. Yes. I could have added logic says that judging people by anything other than their character is stupid and evil. Well, I should have said actions here too. And that obviously includes gender and sexual preference. Logic and morality have zero relation to law and religion. You did a good thing. Logic is for losers. I go with my gut or my butt. This would have been fine, but when he says but, that's when I decided to call him an idiot. If he had said just gut, that would have been better. I respect intuition, but your intuition should be logical. And when your intuition disagrees with your logic, you should try to resolve that disagreement. Yeah, your logic might be wrong. Your intuition might know better, but you're not going to know until you resolve that disagreement. As long as it's not Islam, I'm good. This person says, and guess who gave you that logic? It was Allah. So I asked, why should we believe that? And he didn't reply. Let's see if there are any more to look into from the original post. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Turns out it's way easier to be moral when you don't think morality is subject to the whims of a hell god. When you have a practical concept of morality, that which demonstrably reduces harm, increases well-being, or both, that's a hell of a lot more effective than damning everyone who disagrees with you or killing escapees. Muslims can't even agree on what Allah values, and so you get progressive Muslims fronting for an ultra-conservative core cult. Basing morality on a God whose desires can't be agreed upon is about the most subjective immorality of which can be conceived. If one Muslim says kill and another says don't, and both claim Allah as their moral guide, then Allah has already failed to guide his cultist 50% of the time in just this example. That's not reliability, that's just pure chance. There is no moral compass with Muhammad. In the massacre of Banu Qurayza, Muhammad ordered 600 plus Jewish men to be beheaded in front of their families and the rest of the people who were sold as slaves. That is debatable. There is not known Jewish sources confirming it. Hell, even earliest source comes from a historian named Ibn Ishaq. These moral values were there even before Islam. Because it is common sense, don't hurt other people. Quran is a perfect book, says, you got it the other way around. We start out with morals innately, then despite religions, sometimes we keep them. Other times, religion hijacks your sense of morality into doing awful things, thinking you're doing good. Furthermore, how do you reconcile your morals, values, and empathy with the concept of hell? Don't you consider its creator evil? One person going to hell would be too many. There is no finite crime that is worth infinite punishment. Even if we combined all crime from all of life, it is still finite. It would still be wrong to punish for eternity for the combined finite crimes. Then there's all the misogyny I'm sure you're aware of, but I'll share the list of scriptures anyway. Then there's the LGBTQ issue. One of my heroes, Alan Turing, who single-handedly won World War II on the intelligence front against the Nazis, becoming the father of computing, was chemically killed by the state when they found out he was gay. I think he also accepted it. Like, he maybe he could have ran away, but he just said, fuck it. I like him. I think I would have found that very depressing, that whole situation. There was no way he chose to be gay. Even teenage me understood that much. It's wrong to punish someone for being born with black skin or red hair or a different sexual orientation. We found a genetic component to it, and humans would be the unnatural ones in the animal kingdom if we didn't have around 10% of our population being born that way. Only calling it wrong if you act on it doesn't make it less bigoted. Let's see. Then there's the life of the prophet and all his revelations of convenience, like having as many wives and concubines as he wants, marrying, then raping, because children can't make informed consent. It is rape. A 9-year-old. When there's the village he massacred but spared a girl he wanted to marry. Could you imagine giving consent to the man who murdered your children and husband and everyone you ever knew? Then there's just the way the Quran is written. Doesn't it feel like it's insulting your intelligence? It constantly asserts itself as correct without a shred or credible evidence and insults you for not believing it. Like, bro, you're supposed to persuade me, not berate me into agreeing. I just have too much self-respect and love for humanity, regardless of their religion or sexual orientation, to follow Islam, and my moral values have been all the better for it. When I used to be Muslim, I used to hate on people from LGBTQ community, although inside I was in denial. Since I'm omnisexual and I used to hate on Jews, and of course now I regret both now that I'm not Muslim, I've realized Islam isn't peaceful and they promote hate towards others. It's all ironic. If you become convinced tomorrow that Allah is not real, do you believe you would lose your moral compass? Is fear of your God's judgment the only leash which is stopping you from committing terrible crimes? Respect your parents is an ancient and universal idea that predates even Judaism. I'm not sure what is good about obligatory charity, but charity itself has ancient roots too. Muhammad had no morals. His motives were just greed, power. Yeah, where would we be without the Quran and Allah Muhammad to guide us? Without, I wouldn't know how to properly marry little orphan girls, how to keep and capture sex slaves, how and when to beat my wife, or how to kill gay people. Oh, wait. Sarcasm. Humanity is enough to guide us to what is right and what is wrong. I request all people to please read this article, which simplifies the issue of morality from unnecessary talk of subjective objective and explains morality in terms of humanity. I believe all atheists should follow this new path and avoid following the religious way of dividing morality into subjective objective. This new approach is incredibly effective and easy to understand, and religious people have no way to escape. Sure they do. They can ignore. For one, they can just refuse to read this. And even when they read it, they can refuse to take a rational attitude. And so any rational argument that you make will not have an effect, a rational effect, on a person that refuses to adopt a rational attitude. They will invent new bullshit. Let's see. Looks like they posted the whole thing here. Regardless of what we think as religious or atheists, morals do not come from Islam or from any other religion. The need for morals comes from our nature as vulnerable social beings in need of a set of rules to live with others, and the iterative changes of our moral frameworks throughout time come from our observation of reality. Quote, stealing is okay, so someone steals my pants. Now I need to steal new pants from someone. Oh, now they need to go steal pants to replace. Is that what we become? A race of pants thieving automatons? Moreover, it's a fact that there are multiple branches and multiple diverging interpretations of Islam in the world, and that everyone who call themselves Muslims do not agree with each other. One might be Sunni or Shia or Quranist, etc., but not just Muslim. That's not a thing. Every time one chooses to stay or join in Islam, or keep to a specific branch of Islam, or favors a specific preacher, or select a specific interpretation of the Quran or Hadith, he is applying a non-Islamic internal moral framework to add structure and boundaries to his belief system. Yes, he's using his mind to judge Islam. That's why people do things like cut out the Hadith and become Quranis. They're thinking for themselves. For example, a Sunni Muslim who pick and choose the Hadith he likes, or renounce the stated ages of Aisha at marriage and consummation, or renounce the ability to understand the consequences of these ages, is influenced by his internal non-Islamic moral code to do so. Just like a Muslim who decides that someone or somehow God wanted the end of slavery, despite God never mentioning that. While one might think that Islam guides his morals, he is actually unwittingly guiding it with his humanity. In a sense, a lot of progressive Muslims are effectively playing prophets, or are acting as mislabeling deists and worship a God they call Allah, but who has too little in common with the God described in Islam. You should study the Hadith end to end. Islam is a copy-paste of Judaism, Eastern Christianity, and mixture of other stuff. I argue the modification of Islam came after, but almost everything you talked about was prevalent amongst the Abrahamic people. You should spend some time reading early tafsirs, Islamic colonialism, Ridda wars, etc. Best resource, inshallah, for you to leave Islam. Atheism versus Islam.com. It debunks Islam in much, much detail. Mabruk, welcome to being an ex-Muslim. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now.